Hello everyone, the 316 here with another Marvel Legends review. Here I have the Fantastic Four First Steps wave, specifically Mr. Fantastic and the Human Torch. I also pre-ordered Sue and Ben, neither of which have shipped yet. I was quite surprised that these two shipped so soon. Very excited to get these. These are my first Fantastic Four Marvel Legends figures. I missed out on the retro card ones, but I thought that these ones would be a good substitute until they make another set of comic book Fantastic Four figures. But I am also very excited for this movie. Can't wait for it. So both of these retail for $24.99. There's 6 figures in this wave. There's a Johnny Storm and a Silver Surfer as well. I was kind of hoping they'd do another Galactus figure, but like if they did a HasLab Galactus of MCU Galactus, I'd probably buy it. I'm just saying. You know, if they want to do it, please. But I really like their kind of retro-esque packaging here. They even have the old Hasbro logo in the bottom right corner there. They shipped my Mr. Fantastic in a bag, so there is a bit of warping and crap on the boxes there. But on this side of the box, you get an image of the figure, or rather the character, not the figure. Same thing down here, but it's smaller. Also, I'd like to point out that they each have their own unique hand emblem here. So his is on fire, his is stretchy in a circle, Things is a rock, of course, and Sue's is invisible. But it also says down here the name of the character and the name, their non-superhero name. It also says First Steps up here. Like to see that. And if you're looking for either of these figures, here are the barcodes for Reed on top, Johnny Storm, or rather Human Torch on the bottom. But let's go ahead and open up these guys. Here I got them out of the package, and I wanted to show off the backdrop here. The backdrop has all of their hand emblems here. They're both the same for both figures, so if you wanted to put them in the backdrop, that's what it would look like. So if you keep those, go ahead. If not, oh well. It's better than McFarlane Toys, I'll say that. They at least have I wouldn't say every figure has a unique one, because like the Build-A-Figure waves don't, but let's start off with Human Torch here. Human Torch comes with technically 4 accessories, technically 2, but he comes with some karate chop flight hands, and he comes with 2 fists. And as far as I know, the only effect pieces that can come off from this figure... Okay, so what I'm looking at here is that these effect pieces can be removed, as well as the ones on the upper wrist here. Those can be removed as well. The upper one cannot be removed, and I'm pretty sure his head can come off. Let's see. Yep, head comes off pretty easy, and it does look like they used solid plastic for that piece, but it might be translucent, so you can already kind of see there's some flashing on this piece, so I'm going to be very careful to remove that. Doesn't want to come off. I'll just leave it on. I'll pretend like I didn't see that. But yeah, that's what Human Torch comes with. And then Reed over here, he comes with quite a bit here. He comes with 2 hands on the figure that are unique. They're not the exact same. I would consider them a pair, but they're not the exact same hands. This one, it's a bit more like this, whereas this one's more like he's holding on to something. And then he does come with a pair of fists, and they did paint the insides of those. I appreciate that quite a bit. And he also comes with 2 stretchy arms. I like these stretchy arms despite the fact that you can't actually swap out the hands. So you can't put a fist hand on one. That is kind of a bummer. It does look like you could remove them. It does look like that this was a separate piece, especially on this hand. You can kind of see the mold mark there. I'm pretty sure it's a separate piece that they just glued together. So if you wanted to remove them, you probably could. I do wish they gave him some stretchy legs. But, yeah, I think for, Reed himself, we got a pretty decent amount of stuff. Is that a scuff mark on this piece? Oh, man, I got a scuff mark on that. That sucks. And this is molded in light blue, I'm pretty sure. So, whatever. I think I got some white paint lying around. I'm going to start off with Human Torch over here. He looks great, and I think the reason they went with this style of costume is to give him those lines that we've seen, in the comic book. It's very apparent in the torso. I think they might have painted those torso lines in. They definitely look painted in, but They look painted in on camera, but off camera it's kind of hard to tell, but you can definitely tell that those are black lines. So I'm pretty sure those are painted in. The Fantastic Four logo looks good as well. And these are two different body types. So Johnny is a little bit taller, and his arms aren't as big. You can also see there's different mold work here to distinguish between the two arms, that they're very clearly not different. Same thing with the forearms. He's got like, you know, like 5 or 6 lines here, whereas his are more uniform and thinner. Same thing with the crotch piece, the midsection. Both of these are completely brand new molds. Even the feet here on Human Torch, because they have those flame effects on them, I'm pretty sure those are unique molds as well. Yeah, I think the footprint is... The only thing that could be reused here is the feet, but again, I don't think they are. They are the same size when I line them up there, as you can see. But I definitely think that these are two different molds just because of those flame effect pieces on his feet that are not removable. But what I was saying about these ones being removable, you know, you could probably do it, but it's going to take some heat. Like I wouldn't trust that without some heat. I also don't have a flight stand to put this guy on, but let's take a look at that face sculpt here. Raise this up a bit. This face sculpt looks pretty good. It's kind of hard to tell, but they actually added lines onto his face sculpt as well with paint. That's really well done. I didn't see that out of the box at first, but it is definitely there. Also, this figure is completely translucent. Every piece on here is translucent, even the knee joints, elbow joints, and I think that the ball joint in the head is, but I'm pretty sure the ball joint in the head is either a solid piece of plastic or it's very hard to tell. Like, let me see if I can't see that through there, but to be fair, I can't really see it through these pieces either. So this piece up here might be. You know what? I just thought of a missed opportunity. They could have had one of these hands be a pointing hand, and I could like use it in my videos. Man, that's a missed opportunity right there. It doesn't look like the neck can swivel. It just goes up and down, which is fine. But, you know, I really would have liked... You know, you can get him into easy flight head poses there. But yeah, the head sculpt looks good. The flames coming off of it. I don't know if it looks exactly like... I forget the name of the actor, but the actor who plays Johnny Storm. I don't know if it looks exactly like him, but it's... At the very least, it's the Human Torch in Marvel Legends form. I'll go over articulation in a little bit. I want to look at Reed Richards next. So Reed here, of course, Pedro Pascal. We'll start with the head sculpt since we're here. I think they did a pretty good job with the head sculpt here. I don't think that it looks completely like him, but it definitely has his look to it. Like you could tell this is Pedro Pascal. Putting it up close next to the render over here, I feel like the thing that they didn't get right is the hairstyle. Because at least on the image, his flows that way, whereas on the figure, it kind of just curls backwards and not in any particular direction. This has a bit more like... I was hoping more for this hairstyle, whereas they gave him kind of a more basic one here, which is fine, but I think the one on the box is a bit more representative of the actual actor. So again, different sculpt from Johnny. I like that. Completely brand new as far as I know. I don't think there's any reuse here. Of course, they got the pinless joints. I kind of want to get another Reed figure to make like Bombastic Bagman, or these gloves, these boots, and the belt. They're kind of giving me Stormtrooper vibes, and then like the cloth look to the actual suit reminds me of like Darth Vader. But yeah, really, I do like how these look. It's not the particular blue I think of when I think of Fantastic Four, but let me get my one background here that has the white on it, just so you can get a better idea of the actual color of blue. Get Johnny out of there, but you can see the blue color a little bit better. It's a little bit brighter in person, a bit more sandy on camera, but you get the idea. So let's go ahead and take a look at this arm swap out gimmick. So I'm assuming you just pull him out. Yep, that was pretty easy. He's harmless now, and he's armless. But the idea here is that you would put the arms in. That was pretty easy. I'll show you, there's a hole in there. And you'd put those in there. And yeah, this looks okay. Trying to move it while it's in there is a bit of a challenge. At least the hinge joint is. He wants a hug. He just wants a hug. Hug me, brother. But I'm sure you could probably find some pretty neat poses you can get with his arms like that. Maybe you can have him with this arm hanging up from something, and then have him like stretching out to try to go after someone. There's no swivel up here. This is glued, like I said. You could probably modify it, cut around that joint, pull it out, and then, sand it enough so that it could swivel. But when I look at these arms, you can kind of see that there's a section here that, like this section right here, where it kind of stops at the top there, and then it goes into the upper portion. So you can kind of get the idea why that line is there. And same thing with down here. And like the attention to detail is very good. They did a good job here. One thing to note, they did not paint the inside portion of the gloves there on the wrist peg itself. So if you're posing him like that, you might want to obfuscate it a little bit. But yeah, I do like the arms. They're not too bad. The articulation's kind of rough. Like I feel like I'm gonna break it when I move it. But there's the articulation there. He can get pretty far back. There's no butterfly joints on these. I feel like he could, at least Reed, could have benefited from some butterfly joints. Not so much the other characters. Maybe Thing. The arms are actually longer than his legs. So he can do like a, you know what I'm saying? Like crutches. But yeah, I like the arm swap out gimmick. I think I'm just going to leave him with one regular arm, one stretchy arm. But yeah, I like that. I think they did a good job with the arms there. I'm glad they didn't give him the weird stretchy fingers. But, if you have that Mr. Fantastic figure, you could do that with that one. But let's go ahead and go into the articulation. I'll start off with Human Torch there. While you can get the foot back, the rubber here does get in the way. He also does have a pivot there, no problem, but I will say it does dig into my finger a little bit when I pivot it with that effect piece there. He does not have a boot swivel. That's a shame. Same thing over here, obviously. Let's see, double knees. I'd also like to point out this is a fully transparent figure. Sometimes they can be brittle. From what I'm seeing so far, all the joints feel good, but over time, the plastic might start to break down. You get the idea. So just be careful. He can't really kick that well. You might have to shave that a little bit. He's got a ratcheted hinge at the waist, but he does have a diaphragm cut. That's not my preferred method. I like the diaphragm cut, and then I like the crunch at the bottom. That's my preferred cut for figures. Obviously, depending on the hand you have, you'll get a bit different of movement, but with the fists you can go inwards a little bit. The elbows here, you can touch his shoulder. That looks kind of weird. You see that? That kind of looks weird. Reminds me of like McFarlane figures with weird cuts on their arms and stuff. Of course, you got the swivel there. Could do good. Oh, wait, what? Oh, I thought he had a butterfly joint for a second. He does not. But he can get he can get above, a T-pose there. And I already showed you somewhat of the head, but he can look down that far, look up that far, and side to side, pivot. Not bad. So there's Johnny there. And you could easily get him into some flight poses if you really wanted to. Like I said, I don't have a flight stand, so oh well. Oh, forgot. One thing to point out with Reed, he has a wristband here. If you take off the hand, you can remove the wristband. So you can remove this if you want to. I'm going to leave mine on. And it does look like that the white on here is a separate mold as well. It goes over top the blue piece. I like that. Alright, so Reed here, head-wise, he can look up decent amount. And if you push on the head, he can look up a bit more, but it does start to come off of the ball. And then he can look down that far. Again, if you take it off a little bit from the head or the ball peg, you can have him look down even further. Of course, he's got the full range there. I meant to point out, because of the flame effect piece there, he can't like completely do a 360, but he can do most of it. So that's Johnny there. He's having a hard time standing up. I think it's his feet. Yeah, he's having a hard time standing up. So with, I already showed you the stretchy arm, but with the non-stretchy arm, he gets well above a T-pose there. Of course, that's a swivel. Full range of movement, but because of how the arm is cut, he can't like do straight up. He does it to the angle there, as demonstrated on that arm. Of course, he's got the swivel up there. Elbow here, it's a similar cut, but this one's more rounded. That one's a bit more angular. He can't quite touch his shoulder, but he can touch like his traps. He's got the same articulation points in the upper torso as well. He's got the swivel at the base there, and he's got the diaphragm cut, but it's not too great. I may end up modifying that, but you know, you can still get him into some decent poses like that. Also, I think the belts on both of these, they are a separate piece, but they don't move. I think they're glued in at the back, or on the side here. Sorry, Johnny. Splits wise, he can get pretty good. At least for Mr. Fantastic, I'd hope he'd articulate well on the legs. Johnny actually articulates just a bit better, I think. Neither of these have drop down hinges from what I can tell. Kick forward, he has the same issue as Johnny, if not worse. You might have to, like, you know, cut into this just to get him to get a better kick, because that's kind of pitiful. He's got the swivel there, good range of movement, and it actually doesn't break up the sculpt too much when you move it around. I do like that. Then you got the knees here. Can't kick his own butt unless he's stretching it, you know. Let's see, he does not have a boot swivel either. It sucks. He's got, you know, the hinge there. He's got that. And it can go up a bit further too. But yeah, there's the two of them. I think that articulation wise, I'm fine with no boot swivel as long as there's a thigh swivel. Honestly, as long as there's one swivel in the legs, I'm good with it. Let me lower this back down here. I don't mind the diaphragm cut, but it doesn't articulate too well. It's got enough, but I'd like a little bit more. I like the disc hinge on the neck peg, but somehow he's got a better disc hinge that goes way further than Johnny or Human Torch does. Arm and leg articulation is what I'd expect. So let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. So Reed here at the top of his head, he stands at about 6¼ inches. With the top of his arm, I'm doing this off camera, he's at like 9½ inches, because he can't go fully straight up with the arm, which is unfortunate. So yeah, 10½ inches. That's, I think, as tall as the Gamer vs. Venom figure. And then Johnny here, if he could stand up properly, mine's having a bit of issue. At the top of the flame effect piece, he's closer to 6¾ And here they are with most of the rest of my Marvel Legends collection. I have them standing next to the Doctor Doom 3-pack figure there. And over here you got Deadpool and Wolverine, who are on their own little display, as you can see. And then you got the Spider-Mans over there with Johnny. He's quite a bit taller than MCU Spider-Man, but hopefully the two of them meet up at some point. And of course we see what Doctor Doom's costume looks like in Fantastic Four or Doomsday, whichever one we get Doom in first. But you can get an idea on how the MCU Fantastic Four looks next to some comic figures. I think the color is pretty good, and for a more modern take, or modern futuristic take on the Fantastic Four, they're going to stand in to my shelf rather nicely. So hope you guys enjoy this video. Let me know in the comments down below which of the Marvel Legends First Steps figures you're looking forward to the most. For me, it's the Thing. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe, and hit the bell. It all helps out the channel. And as always, peace.